Hey there! Welcome to Professor Purl, a YouTube channel about knitting and other crafts. I'm Nicole and this is episode 23. Welcome back. If you're new, thanks for checking out this knitting YouTube channel. And I'm sitting on my porch because it's such a glorious, delicious fall day. If you're thinking it's not fall right now, it's technically not, but it feels like it's fall to me because my university is back in session, the students are back, I'm teaching, and it just feels like fall. I'm in the second week of the fall semester, so it feels like fall. I've had some pumpkin spice lattes. All right, we're off to a rough start. I'm already kind of rambling. So all the things for this podcast, like that I'll mention about knitting, they will be linked in the description bar below. I'm pretty diligent about putting the links in, or at least a description of what I'm talking about, all in the description bar below. And you can find me as Prof Purl. That's P-R-O-F, Professor Prof Purl, on Instagram and on Ravelry. And there's a Professor Purl podcast group on Ravelry and an email, but all of that is linked below. So today I'm wearing a knitting t-shirt. End of August was my birthday, and my friend Kim, she's actually a former student of mine. I was her high school math teacher, and we became like best friends after she graduated from high school and went to college. And I've even stood up in her wedding. Anyway, even though we live far apart, she always sends me a birthday present. And so it says plan for today, and there's a cup of coffee, knitting, and a book. So, and I love t-shirts, like they're such my thing. So I've been loving that birthday present, and I thought I'd wear it today. And I thought I'd film this on the porch because it's just such a delicious, delightful fall day, even though you might not think it's fall. It's technically not fall, but it's fall. So because my university is back in session and all the busyness with the beginning of school, I don't have any finished objects. So you might be thinking, wow, there might not be anything to talk about today, except that there is a lot of knitting, and I've got some knitting tales, some knitting tragedies. So there's a lot of knitting to show and share, but there's not any finished objects, and that's okay. That's totally okay that there's not some finished objects. Although I have had a lot of finished objects, pretty much all, like for many podcasts in a row, I've had at least one finished object. But anyway, let's just hop into all the whips I have to talk about. Right. The first whip I'm going to share is one I'm really excited about, even though to be fair, I'm excited about all my whips. I think this is one I'm like most excited about. And it's a sock design that I am working on called the Read More Socks. I think that it won't be the Read More Socks. It'll just be Read More Socks. And they are a DK toe-up cabled sock that has cut-in heels and duplicate stitching. It's a lot. So I have this one here, and then this one. On my last podcast, I'd started the second sock, and I was here where this progress keeper is. It's a very cute kangaroo. And yeah, so was here last, and I really by August 30th wanted to finish entirely both socks because of Sock Bingo from Yarnia, Shop Yarnia, that has a podcast. They have Sock Bingo, and it ended on August 30th, and finishing, I'd started the other one before Sock Bingo, so I needed to finish this sock here in order to fill all my squares. because I did it last year, but I didn't make it, and that's okay. I could have made it if I just exclusively worked on this, but as you know, if you watch this, if you're a returning viewer, you know that I can't just work on one thing. So I'm to the point where the ends are weaved in, and all I need to do is just cut in the heels, which is super fun and my favorite part. So that should be done. I thought a little bit about staying up late last night to try and cut in the heels so I'd have a finished object on the podcast, and then I thought, I'm not pressuring myself. So I'll show you the cable pattern up close. I think these are called like little pearls, maybe. I don't remember if this has a name or... Anyway, I just think it looks quite sweet. And there's this little stripe up at the top. And the reason why it has the name Read More is that one of the socks has duplicate stitched read, and then the other sock says more. So I'm imagining your feet up, reading, cozy. Your feet are on the ottoman, and they say Read More. So cute. So I'm typically a cuff down 9-inch circular easy knitting pattern person, and my first design was made in this way. Like my first design, the Selena socks, maybe I'll pop in a picture here. They are very mindless knit. It's a 2-row repeat, and just, you could knit them with DK or with fingering mohair together, and they're very intuitive. This pattern is not quite as easy as the Selena in the sense of that it's not just a 2-row repeat. There's this cable going on, so it's like a 4-row repeat. For me, like I could just, like it was intuitive for me. I wasn't walking around with a pattern or anything. I knew what to do. And so I'm curious when people test it, if it eventually becomes intuitive for them, for the people who test it, to let me know. And I put this cute little stripe here. One of the things I don't like about toe-up socks is this flaring here that happens. And I got a lot of suggestions in the comments that were really helpful about different types of bind-offs to kind of remedy that. And so I'm thinking for my next pair, which I'll talk more about, of Read More socks, I'm going to knit another pair of them that I'm going to try the tubular here and maybe make that part of the pattern. So that is something that would be nice for testers to try too, is to try a tubular bind off if they feel comfortable. Let me know if it's stretchy enough for your leg. So I'll show how I cut in heels. So sometimes people put in scrap yarn in advance so they know where to cut the heels in, and I call that like a forethought heel, like because you're putting a forethought in, like that's where I'm going to put in my cut in heel. And afterthought is that it's just simply a tube that it's an afterthought that you are putting in the cut in heel. And so what I do is I measure 2 inches shorter than my foot length. So for instance, my feet aren't the exact same length, and one of my longest foot is exactly 9.25 inches, and so I subtract 2 inches from that, so that's 7.25 inches, and I measure that from the toe. So I measure 7.25 inches here, and then I put in a light bulb stitch marker, and then I do that on the other sock, but I also will count the rows to make sure they're exactly the same. And so I have the light bulb stitch marker in both, and then around the light bulb stitch marker I put in my needles, and then I can just pull on this, cut it. I can pull this stitch up here and cut that, and then it just pulls out nicely, and then I essentially do equivalent to what I do for a toe and the heel. And okay, let me talk about testing. So I'm going to be inviting you to apply to test for this if you are interested, and there will be a Google form that is linked in the description bar below. And I'm only going to announce it here on YouTube at first. I'll leave it up for a week and see what happens. Last time I got like well over 20 testers to volunteer just on YouTube, not going to Instagram. But that was my first design. It was very intuitive, 2-row repeat. And this being my second design, I'm feeling a little bit like insecure, like, well, maybe people only wanted to do that first one because it was my first design. And just, I don't know, I'm feeling like a little bit more nervous about this because it does have some pieces to it. And so I'm going to have it up on YouTube for a week. And if I don't fill all the slots after a week, then I will put it up on Instagram after that. I'd like to start the test on September 23rd, and I'll give it at least a month, if not a little bit longer. So the thought about it is, if you're thinking about testing, is you'll need DK yarn, and it is toe up. And then here are the options. So there will be 3 different sizes of circumference for the sock: small, medium, large. And there also will be an option to do the cable or not do the cable. So one option will be this cabled sock. And then the alternative I've written is where if you're not interested in cables, you can do a ribbing motif in place. So, because my thought was maybe people are very interested in the reed more at the bottom and they want those charts and they want those socks, but maybe they're less interested in the cabling. I personally think it gives off the best reading vibes, the read more with the cable. Like to me, this is like a cozy reading sock. And then the read more at the bottom gives it a little bit of a modern touch, but maybe you're not feeling the cables. So I want one set of testers that does the non-cable version. So this kind of with like a ribbing, but you still duplicate stitch the read more. And then another set of testers that would do the cabling. So that's the thought. And I'd like all the testers to try the duplicate stitch because it can be a little fiddly, and you know, I've made some charts, and so I just would like to know how that goes with the directions and all that. So read more. I just think this is really cool. So. And okay, so the exciting news around these socks. Oh my gosh, I went on about 10 minutes for these socks. I might need to cut something. So the exciting news about this is before school started, I went on vacation, a road trip from Oregon to Wisconsin. And on that road trip, I met up with Kimber from Kimber's Cozy Creations, who lives in the Northwoods of Wisconsin and is a yarn dyer. And you may be very familiar with Kimber from Kimber's Cozy Creations because she's dyed yarn for the We Share Needles podcast. That's really beautiful. She's also dyed yarn for the Crazy Sock Lady. And so, among other things. So, you might be very familiar. So we met up for coffee, and she actually offered to sponsor yarn for this design, which is so nice. And so yeah, I really wanted to take her up on that offer. And so we have been messaging and like sharing mood boards, and she's created a yarn for this design, and I'll pop in a black and white photo of it. So she was sending me black and white photos of her thoughts in addition to the actual colors so that we could see that it has a high contrast, because when you use a yarn that, you know, says read or something like this, you want it to like show up. So we wanted to make sure that it would have a high contrast, and so we talked about that as part of the mood board situation too. And anyway, I thought it'd be fun for you to guess what colors it is. So let me know what colors you think were dyed. It's not really a secret actually, even though I'm kind of teasing you. I just thought it would be a fun game to try and guess what colors they are. And why I'm using that sponsored yarn and not this for the finished object photos and all that for the pattern. I thought I'd explain a little bit. So this yarn is beautiful, and it's coming up a little bit more yellowy in this light and camera than it is in person. In person it's more cream than yellow. And it's beautiful. It's from Libris Fibers, who I met at the Rose City Yarn Crawl at Three Sisters yarn store, and just this yarn's incredible. The colorway is called Foxing, which is after the kind of those old pages and books, which is sort of like, it really like just is a treasure and belongs in these socks. The challenge is this is just DK superwash yarn with no nylon. So if you knit these into socks and just start wearing them, like, they may wear out quicker because there's not nylon, and it's a very, very soft, like, it's not meant to be a sock yarn. So it feels like I shouldn't be like promoting that as a sock yarn. That sort of conundrum was sort of like one of the reasons why I need to knit another one of these. So anyway, it's good for me to knit more than one thing because it's almost like a rough draft, because, you know, like this is flaring and I don't want my design ones, the final product, to flare. So anyway, these will be my special like slipper socks essentially for at home. All right, I've successfully gone on and on about this. So if you're interested in testing the Google Forms below, please fill it out. Now, testing. The last time I filmed a podcast, I was working on a test knit and wrapping it up, and it was due August 30th. And it is a beautiful test knit, and I didn't finish it by August 30th. And in addition to not finishing it by August 30th, I made a really huge mistake. So it's like steps backwards from being finished. Okay, so I'm testing the Lennox Pullover, just showing up neon and bright in the camera. It is neon, but it's more of a pastel neon. I don't know, it's turning out so bright in that camera. Anyway, this yarn is dyed by my friend Kelly from Mouton Rouge Knittery. It's a custom color, pastel neon, called Make Lemonade. This sweater is knit bottom up, sleeves first. So sleeves first is your swatch, bottom up, you attach the sleeves in the round. You knit it inside out. So this is the wrong side, and this is actually the right side. So the right side is inside the garment. You can see it's very beautiful texture, and it'll be kind of a boxy, slightly oversized sweater. So I made a mistake, a huge mistake, an epic mistake, like just such a big mistake. So here's the mistake I made. It's a compound raglan, which means early on I should have been only decreasing on the front and the back and not the sleeves. And I did that. And then compound, you're adding in extra increases. And mathematically, if you're doing like decreases, I'm just making this up, this isn't the pattern. Let's say you're doing decreases every 5 rows. Okay, that's the linear pattern. And then you're gonna add in extra increases so that compounds it, so it's gonna make a steeper slope. So your nice little slope, and then now you've added in extra decreases. So it'll be a quicker slope, and then maybe you'll level out again using less decreases. So it creates this S shape. That S shape is very cool when you conceptualize it. To be honest, I wasn't thinking like that. And I was feeling kind of rushed. Like I wanted to get this done, like off my plate, get the test done. And so I was kind of rushing it. And I also am not one of those people that likes to just like carry my pattern around. So I was doing all this without carrying my pattern around. And so I made a really mistake. In that compound part where I was supposed to start decreasing on the sleeves, I never did. And I put a marker in so you can see where I was supposed to start. This is where I was supposed to start decreasing on the sleeves. And so from here to here, I was continuing to decrease in the front, but not decreasing on the sleeves. tragic. And normally I would say like just rip it out for several reasons. One, it's a test knit. You need to test the test knit for the designer and do it the right way. And so you should rip it out. And also you should rip things out because in the long run, the extra work is always worth it if you're going to wear the garment. My hesitation towards ripping it out is I did the math to catch up on my decreases. And my other hesitation for ripping it out is that this is going to be so gnarly to rip out with this texture because there's drop stitches in it. And then the other hesitation I have about ripping out is I tried it on with my purl strings and it looks fine. Like it doesn't look that bad right now. So I was in contact with Anna, the designer, and she's so kind. Essentially like somebody else knit this in my size and it worked out. So she had more than one person knitting this size. So like I'm like fine. But she did provide a reason for Team Rip It Out. That's her words. She said Team Rip It Out is like this beautiful S shape like this. Like I'm not gonna have that. Because I've been going kind of just linear. So mine's just linear and straight right now. And then if I just quickly try to make it up, like it's just not gonna be that pretty S shape that everybody else's is. And when I try to conceptualize like what my shape would be like, that's a little bit, it almost seems like mine will be thinner up front and wider around the sleeves. So that's Team Rip It Out. The Team Rip It Out joke that Anna and I have is that it'll be less sleeves, less stitches second time around, because second time around I'll actually be decreasing the sleeve stitches, so it'll be less. Since I'm so far along, like I'm just so close to being done, as you can see, there's a part of me just out of curiosity now that there's not pressure to finish it in a certain time. I've let it sit since Sunday, since I realized the mistake. I think I want to do it to the collar and try it on, just so I can see the way it looks with like making up my decreases. If I love the way it looks like, and I'm just like in love and I think I like look amazing, then I'll finish the neck. It's like a folded collar and it'll be beautiful. If I'm not in love with it, then I'll rip it out. I mean, because at this point I'm so far into being done. Like I'm just so close that I'm just sort of like, I just kind of want to see it out to see what this mistake fully looks like. So that might be a lot of wasted knitting because I think there's a high probability I'll end up ripping it out, but I kind of want to go that route just out of curiosity. So it stinks to make a mistake in general, just it does, and it really stinks to make a mistake when you're test knitting. And I just want to be clear, this was not Anna's fault, not the designer's fault. The pattern is impeccably written. This was a Nicole error, like 100%, and so I felt really bad about it, and it was more like not like bad that like I needed to rip it out, or mad that like I made a mistake. Like mistakes happen, ripping out and knitting happens. It was more like this is a test knit and I should have slowed down and read the directions, because there was this moment like I knew, like I must have known deeply, because this where I started not doing the sleeve decreases, this is a stitch marker that I put in before I even knew I made a mistake. And at this moment I thought I should go back and read those directions, and I never did until here. So that's a lot of knitting to not check your directions. Like when you have that gut feeling like you should check your directions, you should check your directions. So Anna was like video chatting me on Instagram and providing a lot of comfort, and she said like just set it aside for a little bit, don't make a decision tonight. She's like go to bed, sleep on it, like about like the sweater and like what to do. And that was good advice. So as soon as Anna said, go to bed, sleep on it, what did I do? I cast on a new sweater. Okay, so here's what happened. I was like, okay, I'm done testing sweaters. Like, I'm just gonna go into the fall semester and teach and just like have fun and not that testing is not fun, because testing is fun, that's a problem, but it's like just like no goals, no pressure about anything. So I was just like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. But then Tammy Gore, who I love all of her designs, beautiful colorwork sweaters. I mean, other things too, but I love Tammy Gore's colorwork sweaters, all of them. And so Tammy Gore emails me and says, would you be willing to test this sweater? Yes. Well, actually, initially I was like, I don't know, it's 4 weeks in a fingering weight sweater. And then she said, you can have 5 weeks. Okay. So this is the London Dusk sweater. And I've had this yarn in my stash since 2018. It was I had this yarn at the very first yarn event I went to without Matilda. Actually, it's I think the only yarn event I've gone to without Matilda, maybe. It doesn't matter. Stories. Basically, it was Indie Untangled West, it was called. It was like a little pop-up Indie Untangled in Portland. And I bought a sweater's quantity of Earl Grey Fiber Company. It's looking fairly accurate, maybe a little bit blown out on the screen. This is kind of a pinky color that has like a lot of complexities to it, and like even some grays. So it's like almost like a pinky gray variegated, but so subtly variegated that it doesn't look variegated. And then there's these like speckles of like lime green and purple. And then that same purple that's in these speckles is like here. And then this is very tonal with like black undertones, and it's just gorgeous. And when I bought it, I had just finished knitting a Cipolla at the time by Caitlin Hunter, but I did the short sleeve version. And so when I bought this, my thought was I was going to do the long sleeve Cipolla. And that would have been epic because it has these beautiful sleeves and colorwork on them. And I've just never gotten around to doing it. I would like to do it one day, and this yarn was perfect for it, but I've been just stashing yarn. And so when Tammy Gore emailed this, I was like, rather than just stashing yarn and saying it has to be for this, I should be flexible. If I love the yarn and I'm going to knit something, maybe use it. So even though this was going to be the Cipolla, it is now going to be the London Dusk Pullover by Tammy Gore. There's just a partial picture. I'm sure the cover photo will be different once we're done testing. So yeah, it's just a top-down, beautiful colorwork sweater. It actually has a provisional cast on because the collar is an I-cord. So just a little bit different than some of the top-down colorwork sweaters I've done in the past. The fun thing about that with provisional cast on and the I-cord collar is that you just hop straight away into the color work, which is what I needed after making those mistakes. So I'm not very far in. I think I'm like 20 rows in. You can see it's just really beautiful. Anyway, just a beautiful motif, and this is all I just want to do. I didn't realize how much I missed color work until I started working on this. Oh my goodness, the swatching that happened on this. So many swatches. The issue is I'm just a way too loose of a knitter. Like, it's almost problematic at this point how loose of a knitter I am. The needles call for there's 3 needle sizes required for the sweater. Needle A, the pattern suggests a US size 5 to knit this in. I'm a US size 3. I'm knitting this on a size 3. And it's like I'm getting looser, I feel like, because now I used to be able to knit some fingering weight sweaters with my interchangeable set, and now it's like my interchangeable sets aren't even working for most of my projects because my interchangeable knitting sets, knitting needles go down to size 4, and if I'm using fingering weight, I can hardly use a size 4 for any gauge because I'm just such a loose knitter. I'm keeping it in this very cool Lisa Frank bag from the Stitching Plaza. So the Stitching Plaza posted, Georgiana from the Stitching Plaza, she posted some fabrics of bags she was making, and I saw the Lisa Frank fabric. And when I was a child, I was just wildly into Lisa Frank. And so she and I messaged, and I custom ordered a sweater size quantity. So she does custom orders for sweater quantities. So this is like a vinyl, a sparkle vinyl. Like, how amazing. It's beautiful, and it has like a rainbow inside. Like, this is just so good. It did not come with a handle, and I carry this to work with me, and so like a handle is actually like pretty important for me. It did have this kind of ring, but it didn't have a handle, and so I was feeling like, oh, what am I gonna do about this handle? And then I had ordered a Sock Society box from the Arkansas Yarn Company, and it had a hand sanitizer thing with like a handle, and I took the hand sanitizer off and took the handle, and it actually looks really good, doesn't it? So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny and fun. Okay, so I showed you 2 sweater whips, and there's still a 3rd sweater whip. And I'm only showing you things that I've worked on since the last podcast, so all that I've worked on. So I think I might have shown this the last podcast. My Scrappy sweater along, so the Scrappy sweater along is coming to a close. As part of that, I finished the Radment sweater, but there's still a Scrappy sweater along until September 15th. There's a Ravelry thread, the hashtag on Instagram, and no finished objects required to win prizes, just participating. And so I was like, there's still time. There's still, there's still a Zoom session left. So I cast this on, the cloud bow. It's in this very ethereal, beautiful pom-pom. So I took scraps of mohair. All of these are former sweaters. This is my diaphanous raglan. This is from a love note I knit for Matilda. This is from the first love note I've made. This is from my souffle. So this is actually a front panel. It looks kind of tiny, but it's because the sleeves are so big and there's a peplum. And I might have had that finished the last episode. I didn't put a progress keeper in, so I don't remember. I think I had this done. And so I've started the second panel. And then I read ahead in the directions, but now I just don't remember what happens next. I don't know if I connect them or pick up things. I don't know, but one step at a time, and I'm almost done with the second panel. I think if I just exclusively worked on this, I'd probably have it done very quickly if you're interested in a fast sweater project, because the gauge on this is so huge. I've hardly worked on this, and I have the 2 panels done. And all the work that I've shown you has only happened on my Scrappy sweater Zooms, which are the first Tuesday of the month. And those have concluded now. We're coming to close the Scrappy sweater Makealong. I thought about continuing those Zooms on Tuesday nights because they're so fun. But Matilda has something going on Tuesdays. Oh, she switched dance studios, and she's got ballet and tap that night. So I can't do it on Tuesday nights. But I am going to keep up sweater Zooms, even though the Scrappy sweater Makealongs ended. There will be other Makealongs going on, which I will announce here. And just meeting together and talking about sweaters and sweater zooming is super fun. So we will have a sweater zoom the first Thursday of every month. So the same time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Instead of Tuesday nights, it'll be Thursday nights. Everybody's welcome. And it's just, I usually have like a fun question to get us chatting, but we don't really need that. Everybody just chats. And it's a good sized group. It's not a super big group, but it's not really tiny either. And so, yeah, it's just want to welcome everybody to come to that if you're interested. And I usually post the information for that both in the Ravelry group and on Instagram in the stories. Good segue into announcing the next Makealong. So the next Makealong is going to be another Love Note Knitalong. So a year ago, I hosted my very first Makealong on this channel. It was the Love Note Love KAL. You can go look at that hashtag Love Note Love KAL and see all the love notes that people did this time last year. And we cast on October 1st, and I think we were done like December 1st or something. And so I was thinking maybe I'd make it an annual thing because it was so fun. And I've knit 5 love notes, I think. I did the original, did an oversized neon green one. I said the original one. This size medium mauve. I knit a lime green one large. I knit one with no lace. I knit one with a lace pattern that I modified and put in. And then I knit one for Matilda. So that's 5 I've knit. Yes. So I have yarn for a 6 one. I want to knit a Scrappy one, and I want to knit one with this yarn I have from Purl and Postulates. So I have yarn, and I want to knit another one. And my personal life goal is eventually to knit 10 love notes. So anyway, there's going to be a Love Note Love Knitalong again. I'm working on the hashtag. I'm thinking maybe Love Note Love KAL 22 or 2022 maybe. I'll check it out, but some things so that we can like have it a second annual one. And what else I want to say about that? Oh, this is a nice transition into dream knitting, because my hesitation in announcing it was I was just like, I definitely want to do Love Note Love Knitalong, and I think I felt like I feel conflicted on if I'm going to do the Stephen West Knitalong, Mystery Knitalong. Okay, I have some dream knitting here to chat about. So I tried the Stephen West Mystery Knitalong one time. I tried it in 2013 with the Color Craving. Color Craving, I think it's called. I'll pop in a picture here. And it was a fail for me. I had so much fun picking out new colors, and I lived in Illinois at the time. Ironically, didn't know I was moving to Portland, but bought my yarn store in Portland called Happy Knits, and I had the yarn shipped to me in Illinois, and I was super excited, and I cast on, and it was like my first try at a mystery knit-along, and only Stephen West's mystery knit-along I've ever done. And I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy the process, and I didn't like the shawl. So I never have done one since. And I shouldn't let that stop me, because there's so many other shawls of his that are just gorgeous and I just love. And last year I felt like I was like missing out on fun because people were like podcasting about it and like having the best time. So like I wanted to do it again a little bit, but then there's a part of me that's like, but I actually just want to knit sweaters. So like don't cave into the pressure. So because I'm so unsure about it, like I don't want to buy 5 skeins of yarn for a shawl. Like I'm just nervous. I think I'm mostly nervous. I'm nervous that I'm not going to finish it because it's such a massive project, and I'm nervous that I like wouldn't be like a good enough knitter to finish it because it's like an intense amount of knitting. So I'm nervous. So I want to pull from stash. if I do it. So I've been playing with yarn in my stash. And here's what I have. Hear me out. My first combo is something I would never think to do. I would never buy this yarn to do it, but I kind of like it. I'm going to show you two options. Okay, so this is one of those Miss Babs giant things. So it's one of those Miss Babs, like one of those giant skeins. Maybe you've seen these from Miss Babs. And I don't even have a tag for it anymore. I bought this so long ago. It's been in my stash for like ever. And this is yarn my mom bought for my birthday like 2 years ago. It's made by Haley, who's in Salem, Oregon. Or made by Haley Bailey, who's in Oregon. And maybe those look a little bit strange together, but here's the thing. This pink has like little flecks of blue that match the blue in here. So I would never think to buy these, but I kind of like them together. And then you need a pop, and this thing's huge, so it's like 2 skeins. And then you need a pop, and then this, I really like it with this. And it doesn't necessarily look like it should belong with this over here, but there are subtle bits of pink in it, and then this is pink, so I kind of like it. There's a part of me that feels like these aren't the best with all this. Then I kind of like it. So this feels weird to me because it's not a combo I normally put together, but I'm kind of liking it. This is a gift, a birthday gift from Anna. It came with mohair, but I thought, you know, I can just buy another one and put it with mohair if I wanted to do something with the mohair. But I'm liking that. I'm really liking that. Okay. And I put this as a poll on Instagram, and a lot more people liked it than I thought they would. I thought people would be like, that is a horrible combination. What are you thinking, Nicole? And that is not what happened. About 50% of people said, wow, yeah, that's cool. And then the other were like, I don't know, no. But yeah, so there we have that. Okay. And so it's continuing. I don't have a lot of like random just 2 skeins though, is the thing. I do have 2 skeins of this. I was gonna knit like a short sleeve sweater out of this. It's really soft. It's Wonderland yarns, and this in their Cheshire Cat, and this colorway is called Looking Glass. And I love Alice in Wonderland. I love the Wonderland yarns. It's such a bouncy, squishy base. So, and I think this looks good together. And I actually really like light blue and hot pink together. Like, it's something I actually really like. So, like these I can see going. You can see there's like, this matches that. Maybe I'll hold it up. And then that would be my pop. So, I'll just hold them up one more time. So this would be option 1. And this would be option 2. Which one do you like better? Help me decide. I'm thinking I might just do it. Like, I feel so conflicted though, because it's like, it's a 5 skein shawl, so much knitting, and I also want to knit sweaters. All I want to do is, if I had just like, all I had to do is knit in life, like that would be so good. Because I want to knit the seamless shawl, and I want to knit Love Note sweater, and I want to knit socks. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know if you're doing this even with Makealong. I don't know. I might be showing these yarns and then I don't cast it on. I was just playing with my stash, like pulling these out, and Kyle was like, what are you doing? I thought you didn't want to do it. And I was like, I didn't want to do it, and now I kind of do. So anyway, that's my dream knitting. Oh, I found the tag. I found the tags on the bottom here. So it's quite old. The name of this color, you'll enjoy this. The name of this color is called Smurf and Turf. That's kind of a perfect name, Smurf and Turf. It's, yeah, from Miss Babs. It is 100% blue face luster wool, so it's not super wash. Wow, I had no idea. It felt very soft. Yardage on it. $1,750 yards. That's a lot. That's more than 2 skeins. So that's a lot of yarn. It's just so vibrant. I'm pretty sure the directions were not to use a variegated. Oh well. Professor's Pearls segment is where I make a connection from my professor world to my knitting world, and I just think the connection here is more like just like a personal story, which is slow down. Like, slow down. It's always worth slowing down. As a math student, when you're doing a math problem or taking an exam or working on something on a project, like, slow down. Take your time. Speed is not a measure of your success mathematically or otherwise. Just always slow down. Like, speed is not a measure of success. Like, speed is not a measurement of like how good you are at math, like how fast you are. Like, if you know something, how to compute something quickly, like, it doesn't mean you're better at math. Just like if you can knit something quickly, it doesn't mean that you're better at knitting. And so that is some self-talk, because I did not slow down on my Lennox pullover, and sincerely I think that is why I made a mistake. I think I was just thinking finish fast, finish fast, finish fast, and like that does not produce quality work or something you're happy with, and I made a mistake that I wouldn't have made otherwise. And so slow down. And in life, that's so good. As a teacher, if I don't slow down to drink water, eat lunch, take a walk, like, I'm not my best self as a teacher. And in order to be a good teacher or professor, I need to be my best self, which means also taking care of myself. So you'll never regret it. Slow down. I just happened to sip knit here. I ironically don't have a coffee drink with me right now. I'm looking at it because it was right over there and it's empty now. But I have been drinking the coffee. And actually, a week ago on Friday, I had my very first pumpkin spice latte. It was like the end of the first week of the semester, and I was like, you earned this. And so before class, I went to Starbucks and got a pumpkin spice latte. And then this week I've had 2 more pumpkin drinks. I went to Starbucks again with Matilda after school on Tuesday, and I got a I got a pumpkin cream cold brew. Side note, that's delicious. It's like this cold brew that they put like this pumpkin cream on top. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I should have got another one of those yesterday, but I wanted Dutch Bros, and I got this is a mouthful. I got a caramel pumpkin brulee breve. I meant to take a picture of it so I could put it in here, but I didn't, and it was so delicious. Anyway, that's how you know it's fall, all the pumpkin drinks. Anyway, as weather's starting to cool down, I just want the pumpkin drinks and crew neck sweatshirts, which was the impetus to creating a spreadshirt shop. I mentioned it the last podcast, and it's officially open now. And I think there's only 2 items in there. There's Sip Sip Knit coffee and Sip Sip Knit wine. Maybe one day there'll be other things, but that's what's there right now. And so there's 2 options in the spreadshirt. There's the coffee shirts and the wine shirts. So the Sip Sip Knit coffee. Some people expressed that they wanted a coffee cup instead of like a latte. But I was making the graphic, and I just kind of wanted it to fit nicely along the sip sip part, and so the coffee wasn't looking as nice because it's shorter, like a coffee cup. So I did a latte cup instead. So, so there's Sip Sip Knit coffee version, and then Sip Sip Knit wine version. And then the logos suggested from Maddie and Kristen from We Share Needles, they had suggested that one of the logos be black and one be white, so that you could get like a darker colored shirt and then have a white logo. And I was also chatting with them about like size inclusivity around the spreadshirt shop. And so I went through and I tried to find shirts that have a wider range, but it was surprising how many shirts were available that only went up to like XL. And so I tried to remove those ones from the shop that only went up to XL and include shirts that went up to larger sizes. There obviously is a constraint about like using Spreadshirt, which is like they have products and you can only use their products that they have. So I'd really be interested in feedback around Spreadshirt and size inclusivity. If there's things that work really well for you in Spreadshirt and things that don't. So like for instance, if you've ordered from Spreadshirt before and you're noticing I don't have one of those items, but it works really well for you in your size, like let me know. And I'll try my best to accommodate that. And also if you know of anything that's like Spreadshirt but is a different company too, I would be really interested in that as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the spreadshirts. I'm going to order some crew neck sweatshirts that have the Sip Sip Knit in wine and coffee version. I'm really excited about it. So it's fall and I wanted some knitting shirts or knitting sweatshirts. So that was sort of the impetus for starting that. We are to the acquisitions part of the podcast. I showed this earlier, this Lisa Frank bag from Stitching Plaza. So I just keep adding sweater whips and not finishing sweaters. So then I buy a bag to put my sweater in. It's great. So anyway, this is so great. It's so cute. I used to have folders that like had a lot of these cuties on there. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Love these so much. So, okay. So you saw that. The other acquisition is I have a yarn subscription box from Arkansas Yarn Co. and it's the Sock Yarn Society, and it came. If you want to see a full unboxing video, I really suggest you watch Lindsay from Always Yarn First. She does an unboxing video every month. I'm just going to show the yarn. And I love the name of this. It's called Granny Smith Walked Uphill Both Ways. It's so funny to me. And look at those speckles. It's so good. Okay, so what I have in my hand here, I've gotten 3 months of these now. So this is July, I think. Living the Salt Life. It's this like coral color with like blue and all kinds of fun speckles. And at first I thought I wanted to do like a Musselburgh hat. But then this came. This is Copacabana. This one was August. And Maddie from We Share Needles has a really cool pattern. like a sock pattern that came with it. And so I thought, okay, this will be a Musselburgh, and then this will be the socks. That's what I'm gonna do. But I hadn't started either of those, and then this one came. You can see, so this is pink with blue flecks, and then that blue is in here, and then there's like this green, and then there's this green. And so you can see it goes like really nice together, these three. And they both have some white space in them too, which is nice. And so now I feel like these three should be a really cool project. And what could they be? Please let me know. Part of me thinks it could be like a 3-colored shawl, so I could Google some 3-color shawls. So let me know if this gives you some inspo for a 3-color shawl that I should do. And then another part of me thinks like, well, that's enough yarn to knit a sweater. For me, that's enough yarn to knit a sweater. So I could do some kind of some kind of short sleeve like fade with these three. So yeah. So anyway, I think I'm leaning more towards using these because it's the same base, part of the same sock society. I think they go really well together. Let me know your ideas if you have a 3-skein shawl idea or like some kind of sweater that I could fade with these. If you have any ideas, I'd love to know. So those are my acquisitions, and I'm really excited. This yarn is just so soft. I have the Yummy Plush. It's 75. It's 85 superwash merino, 15 nylon, 437 yards. So this is plenty to do something really cool. We have made it to the personal section of the podcast. So if you're only here for the knitting and you enjoyed any of the knitting content, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. It just means the world to me. But if you're only here for knitting, from this point forward, it's no knitting, just personal chat. So I usually like to start off personal section with reading and what I've been reading. And past Nicole, like with the start of school year, wouldn't have read anything like for fun, just would have read school stuff, and I've been just so focused on school I wouldn't have read anything for fun. But post sabbatical Nicole, like I hope to carry in things that I learned in my sabbatical last year, like, you know, getting full 8 hours of sleep, taking walks. Like, I hope to take things I learned into the school year. And over sabbatical, I made time intentionally to read personal things, like to read for fun recreationally and not just read school things and not just read things for my research. And so at the start of the school year this year, I have been intentional to make time to take walks and to read. And I did. So I read 2 books since the last podcast. The first book is Carry On Warrior, and it's written by the same author who wrote Untamed, and I read Untamed last year. There's a significant time difference between the publication of Carry On Warrior, which happened first, and then Untamed, which was published later. And although it's the same author, you wouldn't know. It's just, they're very different books, and I think it really points to how much like we grow as people, and people change. And yeah, so if you liked Untamed, you might not like Carry On Warrior. If you didn't like Untamed, you might like Carry On Warrior, or maybe you'll like both. I don't know, but I had mixed feelings about it, and I won't go into it. I am glad I read it. Okay, the next book I read is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. And I'm very into the Sarah J. Maas series. Throne of Glass, A Court of Thorns and Roses. So A Court of Frost and Starlight is in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. And it's sort of like a book that comes between the 3rd and the 4th book. So I read the first 3 books in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I'm ready to read the 4th book, and this is the book that comes in between. And I just maybe need to break down and buy the 4th Court of Thorns and Roses book, because the wait time at my library is months right now, and I'm just like ready to read the 4th book, and I've been on a waiting list. I'm still on the waiting list. So anyway, I'm really proud of myself that I made time to read 2 books at the start of the school year. Yay! All right. The weekend before school started, so school started on August 29th. The weekend before that, Kyle, my husband, and Matilda, my 4-year-old, and I, we went to Pacific City, Oregon. And I love going to the Pelican Brewery on a Friday night. Like, it's right on the coast, and there's usually a long wait, so you put your name in, and then you've got like some time, and you can just hang out on the beach. People have bonfires, so it's like a really fun vibe. Like, people are just like hanging out, and you're running around as like the sun's setting, and then they text you when you're ready to eat, and then you go and eat and drink a beer while watching the ocean. I mean, it's just so good. So we did that the weekend before school started, and that Saturday and Sunday just spent time at the beach and played in the sand, the sun. It was really sunny and nice, and found some starfish. Just, I love it. And I think the Sunday there, for getting ready to leave, there was a farmer's market, and I bought some purple peppers and some blueberries and things there. I also bought some like beauty products, so I thought I'd show them to you because I'm obsessed with all 3 of them. Now, this is not sponsored. Like, actually, I was shocked, like, because this is this farmer's market, and I like pick up 3 things, and the woman told me the price, and I was like, whoa, they're kind of expensive. But it's like there's some of these products that that you're gonna last a long time, if that makes sense. Like, you just use a little bit, so a little bit goes a long way. So I thought I'd show them to you, unsponsored. Okay, the first thing I've been using every day, and I have it on now and I love it, is this lip balm, and the brand is Captain Coconut, and if you go to their Instagram, it's got a very beachy vibe, and the owner makes this in Pacific City, which I love. And so a lot of the pictures are in Pacific City, which is it's a magic place for me. Okay, so this flavor, this passion fruit pout lip balm, is passion fruit, but the ingredients in it are coconut oil, beeswax, sweet almond oil, avocado oil, vitamin E oil, red raspberry oil, passion fruit flavor oil, and that like is so good, and rose flavor oil. Like, I just smelt it, like you could smell it, but so like rose is like one of my favorite things, like I love rose tea. Let me know if you've ever had rose tea. Like, I just love the rose scent, and so when you put this on, it's like passion fruit and rose, which I just love both those things. I literally like cannot get enough of this. I've been keeping it in my book bag because I go to school every day, and I just have it in my book bag, and I love it. I have not loved a chapstick like this in a very, very long time. It's like Captain Coconut, I don't know. And yeah, it's very cute labeling, and it's glass jar. And this is, in it is coconut oil, jojoba oil, vitamin E oil, vanilla and coconut essential oil, and fragrance oil. That's it's like, I don't know. It smells so good. And I've been putting, I'm the driest person. I just have such dry skin. And so this has been so good for me to put on every day when I get out of the shower. And here's this other one I'm loving. It is pineapple face and body polish. So it's kind of an exfoliant, and she had different exfoliants, like kind of some that had like coffee grounds in them and are like really like a strong exfoliant, but this one is it's a very gentle exfoliant, which is I'm really liking. And the ingredients are coconut oil, coconut sugar, cane sugar, jojoba oil, raw honey, vitamin E oil, pineapple oil, natural pineapple, essential, and fragrance oil blend. That's it. And you can kind of see it's like that. And I've been actually just keeping this in the shower, and like after I wash my face, like putting it in, and with like the honey and the oil, like again, I have super dry skin. It's been nice because it kind of exfoliates me, and but it's very moisturizing. So this is the end of the second week of classes at my university, and it's that time of the semester where it's just like a very romantic time. Like nobody's coming to class late, everybody's coming to class on time, nobody's missing class, everybody's coming, everybody's turning in their homework, everybody's like, there's just it's just this time of like excitement and refreshment and possibility. And it is truly the best part of teaching is like the beginning of the school year. I love the beginning of school year as a student, like the newness, the freshness, and yeah. So anyway, I'm really enjoying the first couple weeks here. While I was on sabbatical, I didn't feel like I missed teaching at all. And I was like, I don't really miss teaching that much, and this is fun, was how I felt. And so it was really interesting getting back into teaching because I just really missed it and didn't realize how much I missed it. Like I forgot about the joy of teaching. When you have a year off from teaching, you forget about it. And so it's just, I'm feeling really grateful to be back. And so with me going back to school, Matilda went back to preschool, and yeah, I wanted to make sure that we were still having fun and making time for each other. So last week, it was the middle of the first week of classes, and after I was done teaching and after Matilda was done with preschool, I picked her up and I surprised her, and I took her to a place out by us that is like, I don't know, they have like laser tag and climbing walls and arcade games and pizza and like, yeah. And so I took her there, and I went Wednesday afternoon, and I called Kyle up, and I was like, hey, we're not at home. So on his way home from work, he came and met up with us, and it's like a surprise random fun night, and that was really cool. What else? Oh, so over the weekend, like my university still has class on Labor Day. It's a private university, so we still had class on Labor Day, but Kyle had work off, and so he and Matilda, like, I had some fun, like going to an airplane museum. However, like I wanted to make sure that Matilda and I did something special over the weekend since I wasn't going to be home on Labor Day. So we cracked some geodes together, which I had been saving, like I've had them for a while at home. So we cracked some geodes, and then we went to a bunch of parks and rode our bike around, and yeah, so we had a really great weekend. So that's it. That's the update, and thank you so much for watching this, and I hope that you are having so much fun with your own knitting and it's bringing you joy. Just a couple reminders. One is the Scrappy sweater Makealong is wrapping up. We are going to continue with Zooms, but they will be on Thursdays, Thursday evenings, the first Thursday of every month. Everybody's welcome, even if you're not participating in a Makealong on this channel. We have a Makealong coming up in October, the Love Note Love Knitalong. It'll be our second annual one, so let me know if you're interested in doing that and what kind of love note you would like. And I also have a testing call coming up for the Read More socks. So I'd love it if you would think about testing these. And yeah, so thanks so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great week.